A billionaire investor just predicted your fate. And the audience couldn't breathe. When the billionaire stepped onto the stage, the room fell into the kind of silence that only appears when people believe something life-changing is about to happen. No music. No introduction. Just the rhythm of hundreds of hearts beating in anticipation. The aura around him wasn't built from his wealth. It was built from the quiet intensity of someone who had clawed his way through the impossible, someone who had stared down failures that would have crushed most people, someone who now carried the weight of a prediction meant for every single soul in that room, and for you. He paused before speaking. He didn't look at his notes, he didn't need them. He was here to deliver a message strong enough to ripple through the lives of people who had grown tired of drifting. His eyes drifted slowly from one side of the hall to the other, studying the crowd as if searching for the version of you hiding inside every face. And when he finally opened his mouth, the audience inhaled sharply, as if bracing themselves for something their minds were not yet ready to hear. You think fate is something that happens to you, he said quietly, but that's the first lie you were ever taught. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried impact like thunder muffled beneath velvet. People leaned forward. People forgot to blink. Even the stage lights felt like they dimmed, allowing his words to paint the room with a different kind of brightness. You've spent most of your life believing destiny is written, he continued. But I'm here to tell you something different. Something your parents never said. Something your teachers didn't believe. Something society hides because it's afraid of what you might become if you truly understood it. Silence again. A dangerous kind of silence, the kind that arrives right before a truth powerful enough to break you or rebuild you. Your fate, he said slowly, is waiting for instructions. The audience froze. You could almost hear the oxygen in the room hesitate, as if the air itself needed a moment to process what had just been spoken. People had come expecting strategies, business tactics, or perhaps a clever metaphor about success. None of them expected this. None expected a billionaire to stand there and dismantle the oldest narrative in human history, that life is something that happens to you, rather than something that rises inside you. He stepped closer, gripping the podium with the firm, steady hands of a man who had lived through storms and come out carrying lightning. You think I'm successful because I'm special, he said. You think my life is the result of luck, or circumstances, or a gift. But do you want to know the truth? The room tensed again. People came to hear stories, they were not prepared for confessions. I was nothing. I was ordinary. I was a person waiting for a sign, just like you. And for years nothing changed. Nothing happened. Nothing moved. That's when I learned the most important lesson of my life: destiny doesn't discover you. You discover destiny. The audience's breath synchronized, like one giant lung being controlled by his voice. And tonight, he said, I'm going to tell you the fate that's waiting for you. The crowd straightened. Some leaned in. Some instinctively grabbed the edges of their chairs. A few lifted their phones to record, but he raised a hand. "No recording," he said. "This isn't content. This is a turning point. If you're not willing to remember this with your soul, then you're not ready." Phones dropped instantly. "I know your fate," he said. And the reason the audience before me couldn't breathe, just like many of you can't breathe right now, is because fate doesn't wait for permission. It waits for courage. A ripple of emotion moved through the room. People shifted uncomfortably, not because the message hurt them, but because they felt something inside them waking up, something they had buried under excuses, fears, and routines. "You're not stuck," he said. "You're scared. You're not lost. You're untested. You're not behind. You're avoiding the chapter that would rewrite everything." The billionaire let those words settle before he spoke again. "Your fate," he said, "is expansion. Growth. Becoming. Your fate is a version of you that terrifies your current self because it demands more than you've ever given. It requires you to shed the skin of who you once were." He paused, which is why so many people run from it. Someone in the audience gasped quietly. The billionaire smiled, not cruelly, but knowingly, like someone who had once run from his own destiny too many times. "You think life is punishing you," he said. "But life isn't punishing you. Life is waiting for you to stop punishing yourself with doubt." He raised a single finger. "You. Yes, you. The one who keeps saying, 'one day.' The one who keeps looking at other people and thinking, 'I could have been that.' The one who stays awake at night imagining a life you're too afraid to chase during the day. You think fate forgot you? No. You're the one who keeps avoiding the door." The crowd shifted again. There was tension, beautiful, painful tension, the kind that appears when people recognize the truth but try to swallow it anyway. "That life you keep imagining?" he asked softly. "That's your fate calling you. And it's getting tired of waiting." There was a quiet tremor in the air, a vibration that didn't belong to the speakers or the microphone. It was human energy, hope mixed with fear, desire mixed with discomfort. The audience wasn't just listening anymore. They were confronting themselves. Then he spoke the line that made the entire hall forget how to breathe. "If nothing changes in your life after tonight," he said, "your fate will belong to someone else." A shiver burst through the crowd. People looked at each other. Eyes widened. Hearts slammed like fists against ribs. The idea of losing destiny, not because of circumstance, but because of hesitation, pierced them deeper than any motivational speech ever could. "Your destiny is not guaranteed," he continued. "Not everyone becomes who they could be. Not everyone steps into the life waiting for them. Some people die in the first chapter because they're too afraid to turn the page." He let the words hang. "You want to know why I'm a billionaire?" he asked. "Because at some point, I stopped negotiating with my fear. He pointed to the door behind the audience. Most people walk through life with the exit door always in view. Every dream, every plan, every ambition, always with the thought, if this fails, I'll go back. His voice hardened just enough to slice through the room. I removed the door. A wave of disbelief rippled through the audience. People think courage means confidence, he said. It doesn't. Courage means doing it with shaking hands. Courage means stepping into the dark with no guarantee of light. Courage means burning your old life so you can no longer retreat into it. The billionaire took a slow breath. I predicted your fate, he said, and you're waiting for me to say whether it will be success or failure. But destiny doesn't work like that. He leaned into the microphone. You are the prediction. A few people covered their mouths. Some tears formed, quiet, embarrassed tears of awakening. You are the person who will decide whether your story is one the world remembers, or one nobody ever hears. His voice dropped. Your fate is greatness. He raised his hand before anyone could react. But greatness has one requirement. You must stop acting like the world owes you time. The energy shifted. The audience sat straighter. The billionaire's presence expanded. Not because he became louder, but because his message resonated deeper. Time is not your friend, he said. Time is a currency you spend whether you want to or not. And every moment you hesitate, every day you delay, every year you postpone the life you want, you're paying the price with minutes you will never earn back. He looked directly into the crowd. You think you're waiting for the right moment? No. The moment is waiting for you. Then he walked to the edge of the stage and continued speaking without a microphone, forcing the room into absolute stillness just to hear him. The most powerful decision you will ever make, he whispered, is to stop living like your life is a rehearsal. A subtle shock moved through the room. This is it, he said. Not tomorrow. Not someday. This moment, the one you're living right now, is the moment your future self will either thank you for or resent you for. He walked back to center stage, his footsteps echoing. I predicted your fate, he said again, softer now. But you didn't come here for my prediction. You came to hear the truth you've been trying to ignore. He could have stopped there. But he didn't. You're afraid that if you try, you'll fail, he said quietly. But the real tragedy is if you never try, you'll succeed at becoming nothing. A murmur of realization swept across the hall. You were not born for survival, he said. You were born for creation. For impact. For evolution. The world doesn't need more people playing small. It needs people willing to break themselves open and rebuild into something unrecognizable. He pointed to the seats again. Inside each of you is a version of yourself so powerful it scares you. And that version is your fate. Not the one you're living now. The one you keep postponing. Someone exhaled shakily. Someone else wiped a tear. The billionaire smiled gently. "Let me tell you how I know your fate," he said. "Not because I read your mind. Not because I'm gifted. But because every human is born with the blueprint of greatness. Most just choose not to build it." Another pause. Another wave of silence. "You're capable of something extraordinary," he continued. "I see it in your eyes. I see it in the way you lean closer when the truth touches you. I see it in the way your heart reacts to possibilities you pretend you don't want." He stepped back as if giving space for the audience to breathe. "I'm not predicting your fate," he said. "I'm reminding you of it." The billionaire lifted a hand and extended one finger. "One decision," he said. "One shift. One moment of unapologetic courage. That's all it takes to reroute your entire destiny." He tapped the side of his head. "You keep waiting for motivation. You don't need motivation. You need clarity. You need a reason so strong it makes your excuses evaporate. You need a future so compelling you're willing to bleed for it." A tremor of intensity filled the room. He sensed it and continued. "I have watched people with less talent than you win. I've watched people with fewer opportunities achieve more. I've watched people with broken pasts build indestructible futures. Do you know why?" He didn't wait for the answer, because they stopped running from who they could become. His next sentence hit like a meteor. "And the day you stop running is the day your fate begins." The billionaire closed his eyes briefly, then reopened them with a look of deep certainty. "There are two lives inside you," he said. "The life you are living, and the life you are capable of living. The gap between them is fear." He let that truth sink in. "You don't need more time," he continued. "You need to stop wasting the time you already have. Your future is not a mystery. It's a decision." He paced slowly. "Right now, in this moment, your fate is being written. Not by me. Not by destiny. By the choice you will make when you walk out of this room. Will you go back to the life that feels safe? Or will you walk into the fire of who you're meant to be?" He stopped walking. "This is your crossroads," he said. "This is the moment people years from now will ask you about. This is the moment your future self is begging you to choose correctly." He raised his voice for the first time. "You are not average." The audience shook. "You are not ordinary." He stepped forward. "You are not meant for a small life." His voice surged. "You are meant to disturb the universe." Then he lowered his voice again to a whisper. "And the universe is waiting." The billionaire placed his hands on the podium and spoke one final time. "Your fate is greatness. I know it. You know it. The only question left is, will you accept it?" He walked off stage. The audience sat frozen, because deep inside, every single person felt it. The prediction wasn't about wealth. It wasn't about success, it wasn't about achievement, it was about the moment you stop settling for the life you've outgrown, the moment you rise, the moment you choose yourself, and the moment you understand once and for all, your fate has been calling, and now it's your turn to answer. And even after he left the stage, the echo of his words remained suspended in the air like electricity without a storm. No one moved. No one blinked. It felt as if the entire auditorium had been transported to a moment outside of time, a place where excuses had no voice and hesitation had nowhere left to hide. You could feel it inside yourself too, that strange, trembling sensation that comes when truth finally catches up to you. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even hope. It was recognition. Recognition of the person you were meant to become, the person who had been waiting behind the walls you built out of doubt and caution. For the first time, you understood something. Destiny wasn't some distant treasure buried in the future. It was here, right now, in the decisions you could no longer postpone. It was in the version of you silently screaming to be released, in the dreams you kept writing off as impossible because you never believed you were worthy of them, but suddenly you felt worthy. For the first time in a long time, you felt like the path ahead was not impossible, it was inevitable, if only you took the step. The billionaire hadn't changed your life with a prediction, he changed it with a reminder. A reminder that fate is not a prophecy, it is a project. And you are the architect. You stood up slowly, as if your bones were waking up from years of spiritual sleep. The world outside that auditorium hadn't changed, but something inside you had shifted so violently that even the air felt different. You felt taller, not because your height changed, but because your spirit stopped shrinking, and in that moment, a realization washed over you like warm light. The future will not wait for you, but it will meet you halfway the moment you start walking. You took a breath, one that felt deeper, fuller, more intentional than any breath before it. You didn't just inhale oxygen, you inhaled possibility. You didn't know exactly what would happen next. You didn't know how many battles you'd fight, how many nights you'd doubt yourself, how many times you'd question whether you made the right choice. But you finally understood the most important truth: doing nothing was the only guaranteed failure. So you stepped forward, not confidently, because confidence comes later. You stepped forward courageously, because courage is what happens when you move despite the shaking. And as you walked out of that room, something inside you whispered, "This is it. This is the moment everything changes." Not because the world shifted, but because you finally did. You felt the prediction following you like a shadow, but it wasn't ominous. It was a reminder. A steady pulse of truth. Your fate is greatness. Your life is waiting for you, your future is already watching, and now the only thing left is for you to rise and claim what was always yours.